and welcome to this next episode from the RICS Tech Partner Programme. My name is Andrew Knight. I've been with RICS for nearly 11 years now, and I sit within the standards, regulatory and thought leadership part of the organisation. And my role is to look at the whole effect of data and technology right across the built environment and how that affects RICS and its members. Our members work right across the globe, right across the full property life cycle, looking at commercial real estate, infrastructure, residential and alternative asset types. So clearly data and technology has a huge impact for us right across all those different practice areas. And as one of those roles I have is to lead this Tech Partner Programme, and I'm really happy today to have both Pete and Stuart from Crysp with us this afternoon. So please do join me.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi Stuart, hi Pete, great to chat again. And I would like to start these calls actually, despite the fact that we're talking about data and technology, actually sort of really kind of focusing on the people side of things. So it'd be great to hear about your background as individuals and the team, and really a bit of the backstory but around you and setting up Crysp.
Cool. After you, Mr. Harlow, or after me?
Thank you very much indeed. Always, Mr. Mills. Yeah, well, as you could probably visually see, I've been in the industry for many years. When I say the industry, it's predominantly been facilities management, health and safety, and it's now getting up towards 40 years that I've been in that industry. And obviously during that time, you get to know there's a lot of skills, you see a lot of weaknesses in the industry, you get to know a lot of concerns and issues by many clients. And over the recent years, we found that there was a lot of clients we were talking to had great concerns about how they were actually managing their compliance and where they were storing and all of their document management, and how they, when they were asked to evidence things, how they were actually going about achieving that. And it was during this period that actually Pete and we got to know each other through our respective businesses at that time. And we could actually see that Pete then had the potential for a digital solution, but it just wasn't at that particular time, wasn't the right time for us. And then I think it would have been probably 3 or 4 years ago, we came together again and actually started sharing some of the concerns. Well, I was sharing some of the concerns, and Pete actually started to discuss some real life solutions. And it actually started to, in my head, go, you know, after all these years, I think we can actually build a solution. So for me, that's where it all came from. Pete, anything you would have had?
Yeah, I absolutely to echo that. So my background is basically building digital solutions and digital transformation for what I would describe as regulated industries, so legal and insurance. And yes, Stuart and I knew each other in a former life, but you know, the timing and things like that. But I kept coming back in different scenarios, seeing the issues that Crysp is now solving. And what I was finding was that people were asking us to or investing in solving a particular slice of that problem. And I was thinking, I'm sure there's a better way here of holistically helping a client in a really simple way, end to end. And another bit of my experience, I obviously come from a technology background, but Stuart with the building and FM background, we could see that what needed to be married together was the digital and the physical, you know, the expertise and all of that knowledge that Stuart has and his consultants have, but how do we bring clients along with a digital transformation journey as well and wed it together?
So I mean, Stuart, you've kind of alluded to almost to my next question, but in terms of actually what the market wanted and needed it, and sometimes the market doesn't necessarily exactly know what it needs in terms of what the solution might be. What were the fundamental issues that weren't working, or that could be improved, or that were crying out to be solved? That you said, well, that's how we can help. What was going wrong?
Yeah, I think it's happening in a few sectors really, where we had a range of clients who were their headquarters was, for example, based in London, but they had their property portfolio could be nationwide, or even in some cases was European. What their compliance teams in London didn't have was visibility of how compliant, where the current state of play was of that property, be it in Newcastle or be it in Madrid. They just didn't have this visibility. So that was the first, challenge that we found that some of our clients were facing. But then when we started talking to some of the building surveyors that we work with, and in the insurance industry, the loss adjusters and things like that, who were dealing with, and this was predominantly residential insurance claims at that time, they were saying, okay, look, we've been given the pre-construction information from under the CDM RICS, we've given that to the principal contractor who's produced the construction phase plan. They say it's now on site somewhere. When we go on site and speak to the site supervisor, we say, where's the construction phase plan? How can you evidence that your guys have actually seen it, let alone been compliant with it? And they're like, it's here somewhere, always here somewhere. And so for us, it was like, when we're on site, guys, you need to up the game here because we're here to help you. But actually, enforcing authority or enforcing agent, local authority or centrally the HSE, they probably won't be as forgiving. They will actually go, you haven't got it, end of. Because the fact you don't know where it is, you can't evidence that people have actually read it and understood the documentation. So it was, it was really a case then, and also how can you evidence that these people have actually been trained, because you haven't got the training records on site. So we, so these are some of the challenges that we felt clients were facing, even down to the end of the project. Once, so the project's had handover, and so the client gets the health and safety CDM safety file. And they go, yeah, but I've sold that property now. Okay, so where's all that information gone?
Yeah.
I have no idea. So how is that handed over? I have no idea where it is. Because it's there, it's always there, be it on a SharePoint file or on in a paper format, and it's been binned. And let's not kid ourselves. Some of these times it happens, and you go, okay, well, who's the principal designer? Let's go back to them. We don't know.
So given that this challenge is to almost kind of bring together, the technology, the data, and then that physical aspect, how have you achieved that? Because you see, you're trying to reflect physical activity, physical compliance with the data and tech in that kind of virtual world. How have you approached that problem?
Well, I think. I think from a first point of view on to answer that is we wanted to make something as simple as possible. So in terms of how the solution looks and feels, we've used things like Google Material Design, which is basically the same design language as LinkedIn or Google Mail. So it feels like a web application that you would use in your everyday life or everyday business. And that's some of the things you see in the market in this space. It's very clunky, and it's I think being built by technical people for technical people. And what we wanted to do was build a solution for normal people that just need to use this as part of the job. And actually, what we might be replacing is a collection of digital tools like SharePoint, Excel, Word, as Stuart's alluded to an end-to-end digital solution that just needs to feel like everyday life and is really easy to use. That's point one. And then I think closely connected to that is the acknowledgement that, and we've talked a lot about this recently, Stu and I, especially with some of the sort of ongoing client requirements, is that with energy change management, because they've got a pattern of behaviour where they're reacting to problems across the property portfolio, they're not proactive because they're just spending all the time patching these systems and processes, which are very much spreadsheet driven. We've got contractors all over, we're reacting to it, client demands, and then it's like, how do we actually change that? So we've got to kind of educate without being condescending the client. There's a better way.
Yeah, and I think also now, we found that there's a number of solutions in the marketplace that either provide a compliance tool, in terms of the digital technology, or there's a physical solution through a health and safety practitioner, or there's a training provider that provides an e-learning solution, but there is not one solution under one umbrella.
Yeah.
That is ultimately what drove us down this route of there needs to be that solution that we know that clients need. Because they've been screaming that for years, to actually say, we've got a real challenge here, because not only are we not managing our documents, we've got all these separate systems spread across our entire portfolio, and we just don't know who's got responsibility for what, or actually about, and there's no accountability either.
So, to cut to the chase, for our members working in construction as quantity surveyors, what are the real tangible things that you're seeing they get out of the approach that you developed?
Yeah, I think one of the key things for us is that we all know that in the construction industry, you'll get your surveyors and your members will be working on CDM projects. We understand totally some of the challenges they face, from gaining access to the site and then actually getting visibility and accountability from the construction companies that everything is compliant. But it's the entire pre-construction through the risk management, developing the risk assessment there, the construction phase plan, right the way through to the end of project health and safety file, whereby it wasn't there in one place. So a lot of contractors, and I don't mean this is certainly not applicable to all contractors in any shape or form, but a lot of contractors simply weren't understanding what their roles were and what they actually had to achieve. Or they would leave, for example, at the end of the project, they'll go, right, we've got to produce this health and safety file. But you should be doing it throughout the project. And actually, all you've got to do is drop all this information in to the portal, the digital, Crysp. It's there. Just drop it in. So you're not having to chase around looking for documents at the end of the project. Do it during the project. It has built drawings, everything. It just has created a really good solution for the guys that enables them to track and maintain compliance throughout all different stages of the project.
So hopefully, it's the phrase goes, it's that single source of truth. You're putting everything into one place, hopefully, so all the various tiers and all the contractors can see it in one place.
It is. So that deals with the during the build stage and at the end of the project. But one of the key things is obviously the residual risks as a result of doing that work. And be it commercial or residential, that property could get sold on. The individual, the new owners, freeholders, leaseholders, whoever, have no access to the information and no visibility of what are the residual risks. We've got no knowledge of that. So it's a cost-saving exercise, and also massive time resource is saved because you've got it all there. You don't have to go around chasing your tail, going back to the previous owners, going back to the previous architects. The information's there. It goes with the property.
Yeah, I suppose it's that key thing that we're trying to get the sector to adopt, this idea of having a kind of a digital asset that goes with the physical one, and they move together. That over the life, whoever owns it, they just pass from one custodian to the other. I mean, where do you see the future? You obviously achieved a lot already, but where do you see technology adding even more value around this whole kind of risk and compliance piece? What things can you still achieve that you haven't perhaps addressed yet, or that you can see being being applicable to data and tech?
Well, the here and now is, we're an early stage business, although I'm looking back at myself having thinking early stage, but we've been around a while. But Crysp in itself is coming up for 18 months, so there's a lot we need to do. We've got a rollout of some improved feature sets based on our early clients, so they've given us a lot of feedback, and we've worked very closely with them to make sure that we're onto the right thing here, and where else would it add value, and how can we, and so that, and examples like we've got chains of retailers and other businesses where we're getting daily usage and seeing how people are interacting with. So that's all been great. But for us, we're not even tip of the iceberg in terms of the opportunity and the scale of opportunity, because we're having everyday conversations with people who are using various digital tools. They're using no digital tools, and it's literally paper, pens, emails, and telephone calls. So there's a lot there that we want to try and help with, and we've purposely created a solution where by January of next year, you'll be able to go to the Crysp website, sign up, create an account, and access the software straight away and just get cracking, which we're really excited about. And I think that's going to be a bit of a game changer. And Stu and I really look to the future with this. I think there's a here and now, as I say, here and now piece of actually getting people to embrace digital transformation. A lot happened because of COVID. It sped a lot of things up, and I think there's a lot of pressure now on portfolios and property portfolios and estate managers to demonstrate that they're getting value back out of running those estates. So how do we do that in a transparent way? It's having some digital tooling. Everyone gets a bit carried away with AI and machine learning. And I think in reality, we're still a long, long way from those types of things, right? So the idea that Crysp is going to tell me in 2 years' time that I need to do this series of things, that's going to be led by the quality of information that you as the user put into Crysp, not Crysp just guessing what you need to do. So yeah, I think it's really doubling down on getting out to the market and incrementally releasing features. I know Stu, and Stu's got some great thoughts of the future as well.
Yeah, I think there's a few other things. I mean, obviously it's about further developing the integration of the entire solution with other platforms, for example, CAFM systems. So because at the moment, these things, do they sit there as bolt-ons? I think we don't want to fall into the trap of becoming another digital solution that sits alongside another digital solution. That's ultimately what the problem was.
Yeah.
We want to solve that. So that's going to be a lot about development over the next few years. And I think it will ultimately become what we call an integral property management compliance solution. Because it's, as we talk about the digital solution, but also with it becomes the physical solution that we offer as part of this, part of the package. For example, fire risk assessments, just general workplace health and safety risk assessments that come as part of the solution. You can go purely for the digital solution, or you can have the physical solution as part of the overall package. So I think that will, in time, it will increase in terms of the requirement. I mean, even during COVID, we ended up offering the COVID risk assessment as a solution because clients were asking us for it. It wasn't there. It wasn't part of because no one knew of it. Nobody knew
exactly,
of it. So so part of it is a little bit of the unknown, but actually we've got the flexibility, and thanks to Pete and the digital guys, we've got the creativity to actually come up with these solutions. It's very easy for me to understand the legislation and implement that. But again, it goes back to the old way. There's no point in doing that if we haven't got the digital solution, the tech that sits with that. Because we might as well just become, well, you go off and provide a digital solution, I'll go and do the physical work, and we go back to square one again. It's always about what we're doing. It's got to be integrated so it goes forward as one ultimate solution.
Yeah. No, and it's interesting that point you mentioned. You mentioned, Pete, about AI and machine learning. You need the data. You need the data to train those algorithms that they can be very impressive. But I guess it is a challenge for the sector to get more structured data and move away from separate spreadsheets and documents and PDFs and Word documents and inconsistent formats. The AI is not magic. It needs good data to help you make better decisions, doesn't it? And I guess that's a fundamental challenge that the industry is very focused on documents still, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're light years away from it. I've said this sort of insight into my background where I was working in the legal sector, for example, and everyone was getting excited by calling things AI, and it's like it's not AI, it's not artificial intelligence. We've seen what's happened when we created a chatbot with artificial intelligence. It just came out with jumbled text. We're a long way off that. So I think step one is, in the same way that we're ordering properties, how do we take that, as you said quite rightly, Andrew, earlier in the conversation, how do we now order the digital, dare I say it, digital twin of that, but actually the processes of of what that mirrors in a digital world. And that's what's exciting for us, is we're just walking into conversations continuously where they're like, look, we've got to a point now where this needs to be digital and it's not. So
exactly. And I think there's a danger that people get somewhat, I think, not so much confused, but thinking that a digital twin has to be some incredible visualization, 3D image of a building, when actually the starting point is just some structured data about the building and what's in it,
absolutely,
and what
yeah. And if
certificates
we
have you
start,
got.
yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? And there is a lot of, it's like what we live in, isn't it? There's industries around that pedal and drive those sorts of conversations. And then, even through the course of today, we've had maybe 3 or 4 conversations with potential clients of Crysp, demos in there, and they're like, oh wow, this would be great, because right now we've got Jim who sits on a spreadsheet, but he's not in today, so we don't know if we're up to date with our compliance because he's not told us.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and I'm very conscious that there is obviously certain assets where these very high-tech visual digital twins are great, because they've got all the Internet of Things, and they've got the 5G, and they've got a BIM model, and that's great. But so much of the building stock isn't in that state, is it? We have to be honest with ourselves. The majority of buildings don't have those kind of capabilities, but they are still representing a huge amount of the built environment, where we've got to get structured data and get a more digital version of those buildings for all these use cases. So you mentioned a retail firm that you're working with. Can you paint us a picture of the kind of clients you're working with and the kind of things they're using it for? Obviously, you mentioned the COVID thing, but can you paint us a picture of the kind of firms that are already using Crysp?
Sure. Yeah. So I was looking at Stu, because I don't know if Stu going to. We both.
Like any
We
good
both.
double act, you need a
No, but yeah. Well, we'll take it in turns. So
yeah.
after you, Stuart, I'll go after you, because I can see you were busting to speak as well as me.
No, I think as I alluded to earlier, I mean, we do a lot of work with a lot of QSs and building surveyors and with lots of adjusters on the construction industry in terms of insurance works. So that's we do a lot on in terms of preparing construction-based plans and everything. So we do a lot in the construction industry. We in terms of and that probably also includes independent property managers, building surveyors, and even independent commercial freeholders. They've got a portfolio of 4, 5, 6 properties, but they need support. And that's especially with not just the document management and the physical stuff, but also a lot of the electronic forms that the system provides. Because they're saying, yeah, we've got all these documents, all these forms, but actually your system also provides a lot of the electronic forms. So the whole accountability is there on the system at all times as well. So they like that. I'll pass it to Pete now on the retail front, because I know he's chomping at the bit on this one.
I was like, retail. So we're getting a lot of, and it's great because obviously you don't. It's like climate change at the minute. It's obviously a very important topic, but if it's not about climate change, it's the death of the high street. So there's a lot of difficult things happening out there, but there's a lot of retailers that are doing well. And just one example, because in fairness, they backed us in an early stage of Crysp, and we're a big fan of theirs. So they're called Pure Electric. They're a retailer who have grown very quickly. I think they were one of the fastest growing retailers last year, or maybe the year before. I'm just trying to bounce that between the lost year of the pandemic. And they sell electric bikes and scooters, and are starting to build a model around the future of e-mobility, which is really exciting. And what's fantastic is they've really embraced the cultural elements that they want to get hold of with Crysp, because someone came into that business and said, hang on, we need better visibility, improved visibility, and I want a closer working relationship with these stores. So going back to a little bit really of where we started seeing the potential for Crysp in Stuart's early international work and national work with big property companies. How do we know Reading is doing what Glasgow should be doing, and Glasgow is doing what Leeds should be doing, and Leeds is where London should be? So we create an environment where it's really easy to log in, it's really easy to see the information you need to see, and actually the compliance items for that property, you are proactively managing them, not reacting to things falling over. And they just live and breathe and we've learned a lot from them in terms of their interactions with it, and it's empowered us to have, you know, some fantastic conversations with potentially new clients that we can use them as a case study for. And another soundbite that's worth giving, I think, as well, is over the summer we received investment from the international education publisher Twinkle. If you've had homeschooling for kids during lockdown, you've probably become aware of Twinkle. What's important about that relationship, if you think, hang on, property and an education publisher, parking that for a second, it's about cultural values as a business and sharing the passion for what we want to do for the end customer. And they obviously service, not only in the UK, but internationally, lots of schools. Mm-hmm. And so we see an opportunity, as we have in business, but we are seeing it in the school sector, where Crysp can go into a conversation very confidently with, you know, they're growing now as academies. There might be 10 schools in an academy chain, and say, hang on a second, we can save you time and money. We can help you with your business process here and economize and make it more efficient. And we can help you be safer because you've been proactive on property estate. And so, yeah, we full of beans, really. I think there's so much potential there for us.
I think it's also an interesting point you raised there, which we hear with a lot of partners, is that importance of, it sounds a bit trendy to call it co-creating, but that importance of using the market feedback to help your product develop. Because I think if you build things in a darkened room and then go ta-da, you know, if you've not built it with the market in that way, you're never going to quite hit the mark, are you?
No, you're absolutely right there, Andrew. And I think this is what I mean. When you think that originally the whole Crysp concept was built from talking and listening to people. This is where it was born. It was born from people we listen to, we're talking to. You've got issues, you've got concern. This is what the initial piece is. So we just continued that complete ethos all the way through. Listen to people. What are their concerns? They can see this solution, but it's almost now they're going, oh, it'd be great if we could add this on. That would really take it up another level. We do that. It's like, could it do this? There's no such thing as no, it can't. It's all about development and time.
Yeah, and we, you know, we've had like a really interesting year, really, where we've been onboarding clients, and for us, it's about, so there's a whole machine behind, you know, the consultation side, which is operational and making sure that, you know, this cultural change happens inside an organization. So the stakeholder who brings us in, it's usually he's identified the need and he wants, or she's identified the need, and then it's about how do we make that team work better. And another great example was a few weeks ago, we won up in Yorkshire. There's a family-run estate called Stockheld Park. It welcomes 200,000 visitors a year. It's an adventure park, but it's also a family-run property business, and they've got properties across the estate. And you know, we're literally, a colleague of mine, Sean, and I are in this heartbeat of this operation, and we're sat with the health and safety manager, the operations manager, going, and they're just going, help us, because this thing, you know, we need all the things we've talked about during this conversation. We need a solution to, and we've looked at other things and these audit tools and these, you know, things that are called facilities management software. But I do believe there's been a lot of things created by technical people without the customer-driven insight. And this is what's really interesting about Stuart and I, is that, you know, I'm the least qualified person from a property perspective on this telephone call, but I know from a technology perspective what we need to give people, and you know, and that's why it works so well with Stuart and I together, is that we're what's best for the customer, led by the insight that we have.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, once again, it echoes our experience that the best kind of data and technology firms have that mix of experience. You need, you know, property is an idiosyncratic asset, Stuart, isn't it? It has a level of complexity and dare I say it, slightly kind of odd customs and practices that have carried on for decades, and you know, it's not straightforward, is it?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, you're absolutely 100%. In terms of its historic, the way that people have managed buildings, they don't like change. That old-fashioned building manager wanted to sit at his desk, wait for his supply chain to come in and go and be totally reactive. You know, what we're about is actually, you can be, you know, let's be a proactive, let's have more of a proactive take on how buildings are managed. And that's come into play over recent years. You know, I know a lot of people, you know, in terms of the FM industry, it brings a lot of value. I know some people challenge it, but of course, there's always industries that are challenged. But it does bring a lot of benefits to property owners on how you proactively manage your properties. You know, I mean, we found it like, you know, for example, with another one of our clients, which, not that we've been name dropping, but I mean, we look after the entire National Farmers Union estate across the UK. And one of the things we've been doing for them is we've been going around, which is very rarely happens, and I bet you probably ask 99% of practitioners, and they've never done this. It's where you're over compliant. You're actually doing too much. And people go, well, how can that be possible? You know, we've had instances, not just necessarily the NFU, without mentioning names, where people had systems or equipment installed into their property, and there's been no legal requirement for it. You know, things like fire alarms, and you think, what? You know, there are companies that go, yeah, somebody advised we need to do it, and it's like, remove it. Okay, you did the expenditure, the capex is there, it's done, you spent. But what you don't have to do now is maintain it, so you can save yourself. And that's been a great offering service that we've enjoyed, because the clients go, okay, we tick the compliance boxes, but actually feel getting real value, even more value than we were getting with the Crysp solution. You're actually now saving us money.
And arguably also freeing up resource to do the stuff you should be complying with, and make sure you're not focusing on the right stuff. Well, it's been a wonderful conversation. I'd like a final question, if I may, which is, we're always very, very conscious that so many of our members at RICS aren't working in big firms. They're in smaller practices, running as, you know, sole traders, or, you know, micro businesses, as the phrase is. You know, how can they use solutions like this? Because we're always concerned that technology isn't just the preserve of the big boys and the big girls in terms of, you know, the larger corporates, larger asset managers. How have you made sure that your solution is accessible, both technically and price-wise, to that smaller and perhaps, dare I say it, less tech-savvy, you know, kind of firm?
So we both, so I know we've both got answers to this, but I'll shoot first this time.
All right.
So perfect question, Andrew. The bottom line is we built a model on what we call microservices. So that is exactly the same way that Netflix was built, or Amazon Prime. Okay, so the idea that we've built a very scalable platform that will grow over time, and we've not built a product that becomes legacy overnight, because actually it's built in a monolithic way. I know I've used a few buzzwords there, and translating that into, you know, into just simple terms for a second. It's a lightweight solution that people can quickly get hold of and put inside their organization, and it can connect to things if they need to do. And what we've been encouraging over the last year, and we're going to accelerate that in 2022, is for people to resell it to their clients and to their end client. And so we've got now, through channel partners, primary schools, independent primary schools, 5-man recruitment businesses, textile business in Bradford that employs 10 people, right up to some of these big property portfolio owners, because we're solving the same class of problem. Whether you so why should the solution be out? It shouldn't price them out at that stage. It should be accessible. And I think, you know, where we're going with this culturally is, and why I think we're going to start beating some of the solution providers that, you know, want to charge you £5,000 to have something like this. We're per property, and it starts at £13 a month. So actually, why wouldn't you do that? And as an independent, and going back directly to your question, if they approached us and said, look, we've got a body of other small clients or other clients that we want to work with, we don't have the inclination or the budgets to build our own, can we work with you? Then absolutely is the answer.
that was really the thing I was going to allude to as well. That actually, for the really smaller practices, it actually enables them to increase their service offering by just joining our partnership program. Simple as that. So they can offer that as a solution directly to their clients without having to work. And a bit like myself, I mean, tech, forget it. I didn't even know it, but a website. So yeah, and you know, again for these guys, they won't have the. Well, not saying they won't. A lot of them probably won't have the knowledge or the understanding of how, or even the revenue. Dare I say, these things are not cheap to build.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah. So what we're doing there is part of the partnership program. It enables the, you know, the independent and the much smaller practices to have this solution as an offering to their clients. So it just, you know, it's great for them. And I think also as well for a lot of your members, it will be because it supports the entire CDM process in terms of document management and the accountability. So you can actually set a compliance tracker. So if we actually want a contractor to be feeding back on information by a certain date, that information can be fed into the tracker, and all the applicable persons, you know, they're notified at that time. So there's a lot more accountability. And I think one thing that we've known with a couple of surveyors that we know use the system, who are our RICS members, is historically gone to sites with paper documents, paper audit templates. They now do it digitally. It's that not only does it speed up the process of them producing their reports, but ultimately then they can then invoice and get paid quicker. Yeah. But also the action plans, well, any actions that come out of that get communicated far quicker. So the risks, actually, you know, the exposure in terms of the risk gets reduced as well. So the whole process really gets speeded up very, very quickly. So it really benefits, you know, a lot of your members in terms of we've got another offering, we've got all these tools that actually take. We've created that paperless society at last.
Yeah, and ultimately, you know, our members have businesses to run that they want to be profitable, productive, efficient. I mean, it's, you know, in many respects, it's not so much about the technology as ever, it's the value and the benefits it brings, isn't it? Well, it's been fascinating to talk. You know, thanks ever so much for your time, and you know, I look forward to catching up with you in the future and see how things are progressing. So thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Andrew, thanks very much for your time. It's been a great opportunity. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.